Good morning! Well, I was recently asked what have I got in my stable, seeing as so many things have passed through my hands. Well, we'll start with a Dapple Class 122, and I bought it because, well, I like the look of it. And they were made in Gloucester, my hometown. Now this one has got a broken exhaust, and would you believe I found the little tip of that exhaust when I took down the previous layout, which sounds impossible, but I did. So I've got a repair in my future when I get round to it. And the Minitrix Evening Star 210. Now I know this model isn't correct. In fact, that is the Britannia body, which has been chopped about a bit to make it fit. And I don't care that the model is incorrect and is in fact the wrong shade of green or any of the other faults with it. Just don't care. And coming into view is the Minitrix Class 47 that I bought to replace the one that I bought and then promptly sold. Well, this one's not going to be sold. This is the County of Norfolk. And should a Queen Mother appear on eBay in as good a condition as this, I'll probably buy it. Yeah, this thing's mint, and it runs mint. It's a bit growly, but then locomotives with metal gears are a bit growly. But then you don't tend to get broken gears with metal gears, so it's a good compromise. This is the Graham Farish GWR shirt button 57XX, which I recently purchased and recently serviced, and now it recently doesn't want to go. These things are very frustrating. It goes a little better backwards, and I have no idea why. But why is this thing as dead as a doornail when I've just cleaned it? eBay, I think. The Hornby Arnold Brighton Bell 5-car Pullman, which I just couldn't be bothered to unbox. So you've got two power cars, of which only one is actually powered, and then you've got the three central cars, and because the couplings on this is awkward, I just couldn't be bothered to assemble it for this video. Sorry. And the other Minitrix 9F210O in black. Bought this brand new. This is most definitely a keeper. These old Minitrix run so well. And as I say, I know the model is incorrect and I don't care. But what was that just shot past? It's a Minitrix. I can't even say it. This is a Minitrix Britannia. This one is the Boadicea model. I don't like the early Britannia because the green is incorrect and the front bogie wheels are incorrect. But I'm still on the hunt for a decent Britannia with the correct wheels. It goes like the clappers. Great runner. And talking of great runners, how about the fastest runner? Minitrix Mullard. My granddad knew the driver up in Doncaster when it was based there for a little while, for a few excursions. Yeah, it's the wrong green and the model probably isn't quite correct, and I don't care. Yeah, you got to have the world record holder. I mean, yeah, there's plenty of other A4s to choose from, but you've got to have a Mullard, surely. And what was that just went steaming by earlier? Well, it is the Minitrix Sir Nigel Gresley in blue. At least this one's got the correct LNER number. I really wish they'd made the Mallard with the LNER number and not the BR number. This is a great runner too. Who doesn't love a blue locomotive with red wheels? I mean... And the final Minitrix is the apple green Flying Scotsman, which doesn't run. I bought this new, and of course it's just sat there stored, and this was the one motor that I could not get going properly. It just wouldn't run for me no matter what I did. So I fitted a new motor, and I've got to wire it all up. So that's another job for a dark winter's evening, isn't it? To get this beautiful thing going. Next on the list is a very recent purchase from Graham Farish. It's a 2MT in green. I know it looks a bit black because of the lighting and the camera angle, but this is a green one with some beautiful red fin striping, or orangey red. There's something about a little 2MT. There you go, it is green. And then the Collectors Club released a maroon one, and well, I couldn't exactly say no to that. If you may remember, I had these two in the Minitrix model, which it wasn't quite right. In order to get the motor to fit, they'd kind of like gone over scale. These are better. Well, even with all this space, I've got to limit the number of coaches I pull. Otherwise you end up with a station that's 13.5 feet long. So I'm sticking with 5 as the maximum. There'll be no, you got 13 on this morning, Ted, for 440 tons. It'll be just the 5. Now what's coming into view? Well, it's an LMS Stania class 5 in black. I think this one's called the Lancashire Fusilier, or what does that say there? I can't read it. This is a great model. The detail of the latest Graham Farish is fantastic, and they do pull very, very well. Yeah, this thing's a beast. Almost as good as the Minitrix, to be fair. Well, that wasn't the Class 5. That was a BR Standard Class 5MT. And they've done it very well. It would have been easier to have taken the Standard 5 and just repaint it. But they didn't. They built a whole new model. They've got it correct. The details are correct. There's a significant difference between the two models. Yeah, this one's another belter. Next on the list is a Graham Farish Class B1. This one's called Springbok, and it's in LNER green, and it's quite a pretty locomotive. It's very easy to see why I leapt on this as soon as it appeared on eBay. Could hardly contain myself bidding on this. Fortunately, I was the only bidder, but it wasn't cheap. And I don't care, because it's lovely. Well, from a B1 to an A1. This is Tornado in blue. Now, I've still got a job to do on this. It's tender driven, and some of the tender wheels have traction tyres, and I still need to replace a set of wheels from the spares kit to give this a little bit more drive, but very difficult to say no to that when it was looking at me in the case. Second hand again, but mint and pulls very, very well. Now a locomotive with broken valve gear. It won't shift. These early Farish aren't particularly good with their valve gear. I'm going to fix it and then I'm going to sell it, basically. I don't want it. Shame, but this is the kind of low quality that you got a long time ago. Coming into view is the Graham Farish GWR Class 64 XX. Now I did buy this second hand, but it's a good one. I don't know why, but the latest Graham Farish 6-wheel tanks run so much better than the older 6-wheel tanks. It's got the same number of pickups, after all, the same number of wheels. So I can only put it down to the latest motor technology being significantly better than the older stuff. I mean, you can see through the cab for starters, so it's certainly better. Another Dapple. This is the GWR Class 28/38, because this is the modified. This is the one that came after the 28 once they'd done a few modifications to steam pipes and the cab, but the rest of it is the same. I love this 280, even though it is loud and growly and it's got that terrible shaft drive between the motor in the tender and the driving wheels. This one's a keeper, as I say, despite it being a bit of a growler. And finally, the Dapple Britannia class that I've had so much trouble with. Yeah, this thing derails for the minutest speck of dust. It's an absolute pain in the backside. It's a lovely model, but it's more of a static model than a moving one. It really is. Such low quality, poor design. I hate the bloody thing. The flanges on the wheel are very shallow. You show it any little bit of deviation and it's just not interested. It derails going backwards. It derails on points. Now these curves at the end are radius 3 and radius 4. Who on earth is designing? Who on earth is designing locomotives that won't handle a radius 3 or a radius 4 like most people use on their dining room table sized layouts? And the couplings are a shade on the small side, so it likes to let go of coaches. The way it jumps as you go over a set of points, it's just... I wish this thing was ugly, then I wouldn't have bought it. But it's not ugly, it's a nice locomotive, but there's something gone wrong here, and I think, spotted a problem. And that's the cab doors. They've kind of like gone over the top, so the gap between the locomotive and the tender isn't as much as it should be. So when it does go around a radius 3 or a radius 4, the locomotive and the tender clash. I think you can see how little a gap there is there. And then sometimes it will do a lap quite happily, and you think, what's going on? It doesn't like points at all, and it does not like a radius 3 there. Nope. See, there's the gap with the shaft drive behind it. It's just not enough. Fine on the straight, except for the derailing over points, but not so fine on a radius 3 curve. It's just banging, which means it's derailing. So I've got two options here. Option 1 is I take the knife to it and I cut off those extending parts of the cab and see if it runs better. Well, option 2 is sell it. But as it derails over every set of points it looks at, it's going on eBay. Ta-ra!